Hey, welcome to the Richard Sherman podcast brought to you by The Volume. I appreciate you joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe to our videos. We'll love to see you every week. Welcome back to the Richard Sherman podcast. It's playoff seeding. We know the teams that are in. We don't know the teams that are going to win. Mitchell, who you got?
Well, Rich, let's start in the AFC. Dude, first off, this has got to be my favorite time of year. Like, I love March Madness and everything, but like, there's nothing better than NFL playoff season. It's something that everyone can get hyped for, and we got some big matchups. We're going to start in the AFC, Rich. I want to just take it straight down the line. Buffalo Bills at home against the Dolphins, who may or may not be without Tua Tagovailoa. Your thoughts on that game?
Mitchell, without Tua Tagovailoa and his health, Mitchell, the Buffalo Bills should walk out of that game very comfortably, very admirably. And good job for the Dolphins for making the playoffs. You did a great thing. They were people who had Super Bowl aspirations that really went into the gutter once Tua got hurt. But still a good season for them, but Buffalo Bills.
Rich, I don't know how Buffalo doesn't just trounce, this Miami Dolphin team without Tua. Skylar Thompson, obviously third string quarterback. There's not much that they can control there with the health of Tua, but I mean, this game should be over by halftime. Vegas is calling it a 10.5 point spread in Bills' favor. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I would certainly think that they win by 2+ scores. Bigger picture here is the Buffalo Bills team. Obviously, we talked about it on the last podcast. Very emotional week for them last week. Damar Hamlin's back home. It seems to me that this could be the perfect storybook kind of fairy tale movie type season for the Buffalo Bills. Beyond the Dolphins, does this team, what stops the Buffalo Bills?
Mitchell, it is the perfect storybook ending. It's the perfect storybook everything. There's a lot of good energy. There's a lot of teams rooting for the Buffalo, a lot of people rooting for the Buffalo Bills, because of that story. A lot of positive vibes. But Mitchell, Josh Allen's red zone interceptions could derail all of that. All the good stories, all the good feelings, and they will be at home if he continues to do that. Because in the playoffs, it does not work that way. That's why these games have been so close down the stretch. Outside of this last game, they've been really close because he's taking risks down the stretch. He's taking risks in the red zone. Devin McCourty was the most recent interception, but he's had them, and I think probably 8 of the ball games where he's still in the red zone interception, and he can't have that in the playoffs. If you make those kind of mistakes in the playoffs, they are detrimental. The NFL playoffs are here. If your team's in, it's going to be fun. But what if you could actually be at the game? That'd be fun. For last-minute amazing deals on tickets to your favorite NFL team, check out Game Time, the fastest-growing app in the U.S. If your team is out of it, no sweat. They have tickets to NCAA, NHL, NBA games, even concerts and comedy shows, too. So if you're in San Francisco, you want to see the Niners, download the Game Time app, create an account, and redeem the code Sherman for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, enter the code Sherman, that's SHERMAN, for $20 off. No matter where you live, get out and have some fun this week. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Well, what's happened with Josh Allen? I mean, there's 19 giveaways this season. That's most in the NFL. 5 red zone interceptions. The next highest in the NFL was 3. I mean, he didn't have these problems last year with Dable. Is it the coordinator change? Does Ken Dorsey have something to do with it, you think?
I think he does, but not in the way that you think. I don't think it's the play calling that's putting him in these compromising situations. I think he feels he has to do more to overcome the play calling. And so he's taking more risk. He's not trusting his progression. He's not trusting the call like he was with Daboll. He'd hit his back step, somebody be open. Every now and then he would get creative out of the pocket and deliver the ball. But now he's relying on his ability to create, his ability to extend the play and to do something special. And I'm not sure, but seeing Patrick Mahomes be able to do, flip the ball here, over his head, around his back, it may be having an effect on him. And this is just maybe human nature of him saying, he's doing all this spectacular stuff. I can do it too. Let me show you. And what he's showing us this year is not spectacular, Mitchell.
Rich, you made a good point. There's only one Steph Curry. There's only one Patty Mahomes. Maybe he's got to just simplify things and stay true to himself. Rich, the next big game, and this is a big game. I know last week's game, was somewhat meaningless with the Ravens being on their third-string quarterback themselves, but the Bengals are at home against the Ravens, 6.5-point favorites. We're still unsure about Lamar Jackson, and that is the true story that we're going to be following this week. If Lamar plays, and let's just assume that real quick, what does this game look like?
First off, he'd be rusty if he played. So, I mean, I would have the Bengals winning this game by double digits. It's a division game, so there will be, familiarity there. They just played. It's going to be a bit of a dogfight, but offensively, it's going to be tough for the Ravens if they can't get that run game going the way they need to. And Lamar, even if he does play, he's not going to be hitting on all cylinders like Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and Patty Mahomes. They're in rhythm right now. Tom Brady, everybody's in rhythm. They played consecutive games. This is when you start getting hot. Everybody's a little sore, slower. The game slowed down for everybody. It's not going to be slow for Lamar Jackson right now because he has not played in 6 weeks, 6 games, 7 games. And so that's going to be the problem, even if he does play. And like I said, that when he first got hurt, I wouldn't play. At this point, it doesn't look like I'm going to be a Baltimore Raven next year. What do I owe this team? I do not owe them. They didn't feel like they owed me anything. And we talked about this. When a team does what's best for them, when the team works in their best interest, whether it's sitting a guy, IRing a guy, cutting a guy with years left on his contract, fans always say, hey, it was the best interest of the team. I understand that. It's a business. Well, guess what? Lamar Jackson is a business. And the best business thing for Lamar Jackson to do is stay his behind at home and let the Baltimore Ravens be the Baltimore Ravens without Lamar Jackson, because they felt like they didn't want to give him the security that he asked for. And he may not be there next year. And if you're doing what's best for you, you don't want to go into this offseason injured or banged up or with question marks about your health. You stay home.
Lamar Jackson, the player, the agent, Lamar Jackson has done a fantastic job in representing himself. And you know this better than anyone. And I know you took a lot of heat when you chose to represent yourself. But Lamar did the same. But what he's done is he showed what reality looks like without Lamar Jackson behind center. And that just is going to drive his market value up and up and up. Now they're left to either take the franchise tag on Lamar Jackson or negotiate with Lamar Jackson, the agent. And, Rich, you called it. You called it from the onset. If you were him, you'd sit your ass down and you'd let reality set in for the Baltimore Ravens, and that it has. On the other side of the ball, Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow, to me, is that guy. Love him or hate him, he is that guy. I mean, he's got that confidence, cockiness. He's got a little A-Rod in him. He's got a little Patty Mahomes in him. They asked him what his championship window was for this team. He says, my entire career. And I think he's spot on, man. He's a once in a decade type player. And I think he's going to eventually get the Cincinnati Bengals team that championship.
He has something, and not to downplay his talent, because it's tremendous talent, but he has something else, Mitchell. It's not, when you look at Pat Mahomes play, you're like, oh, Pat Mahomes, he can do everything. Every arm angle, he's this. He's just ridiculously talented. I mean, it's like, oh my goodness, it's like watching Steph Curry play. Then you watch Joe Burrow play, and you're like, he's just a dang winner. Like, he just is a winner. He just is not going to lose. He's accurate. He's poised. He's clutch. He rallies his teammates. You can see they play for him. He doesn't make excuses. When his O-line early in the season was terrible, they were decimated. And right now they're banged up. They're without the right tackle. The right guard just got banged up. And he's not making excuses, Mitchell. He's playing for the Cincinnati Bengals, Mitchell. You barely associate NFL with Cincinnati Bengals sometimes, Mitchell, because they're never in the playoffs. They're never in the Super Bowl. But with him, he takes a team that barely was going to make the playoffs to the Super Bowl, and he gives a city that has rarely ever had Super Bowl aspirations credibility that, hey, any given year with this guy in the center, we can make it. But it creates a problem, Mitchell. It creates a problem that Mike Brown rarely has, Mitchell. Mike Brown, the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals, never has this problem, Mitchell. He never has it. He's going to have to fully guarantee Joe Burrow's entire deal, Mitchell. We're talking about Lamar Jackson. It's an argument. He's a running quarterback. You hear all this fuss about well, running quarterbacks get hurt. They do this, they do this. Joe Burrow's not a running quarterback. Got hurt in his first year, torn ACL.
Right.
Let's not get crazy there. But you know what they're going to have to do, Mitchell? They're not going to have the same argument for Joe Burrow. They're going to have to guarantee everything. And what Mike Brown does not do, Mitchell, he does not guarantee contracts past 1 year. He has not for anybody. He'll rather let somebody walk. He'd rather field a 32-man team than to fully guarantee a contract. You might see Jamar Chase get traded from the Cincinnati Bengals, Mitchell, because they will not pay him the money, similar to the A.J. Brown situation. No matter what he does, it's just not how they do things. So it's going to be really interesting this offseason and next offseason what they do with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase because, he does not do that.
You got somebody like that in the house, you're a fool to let him go. So maybe this changes Mike Brown's course of action. He's not Andy Dalton here, Rich. I can understand that sentiment with Andy Dalton under center.
I hear you, Mitchell, but they just got an indoor practice facility, Mitchell. It just started getting built last year.
Yeah.
This is 2021. This is 21-21 where it started, Mitchell. Now we're in 2022. This is an NFL team, not a college, not a 1AA or a junior college, Mitchell. This is a National Football League team, and they just got an indoor facility. It's not California. This is Ohio. It's cold.
Fair enough. Next big game this weekend. Another hot team down the stretch, if you want to call them that. The AFC South has been much like the NFC South. The Jacksonville Jaguars got it done, though, and they deserve to be in this playoff race. They've been winning down the stretch. They've talked things into fruition, and now they play the LA Chargers, who have underwhelmed at the beginning of this season and now have been hot of late. 1.5 point spread. Vegas favors the Chargers just by a 1.5. Your thoughts on this game?
I was so high on the Chargers when this season started, Mitchell. I thought Super Bowl, Chargers, LA Chargers. Here we come. So many playmakers, both sides of the ball. They just got Mac. And then, Mitchell, they started to play. And they just looked blah, 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 blah. And it's like the talent is still there. Derwin James, still a heck of a player. J.C. Jackson got hurt, obviously. Khalil Mack has okay season. Joey Bosa just gets back and starting to come into form. Offensively, they were banged up a lot of the year. All their receivers were banged up, and that's the question mark, Mitchell. Mike Williams, lower back injury, Mitchell. He could barely walk after the last game. Should they have pulled the starters early in the game? Yes, they should have, Mitchell. They're already seated where they're going to be. Should they have pulled them? Yes, they didn't. Now they got to play the Jacksonville Jaguars and maybe without their number 1A, 1B receiver, not even 2. Because Mike Williams is a really good receiver. Him and Keenan Allen create a difficult matchup for anybody. But without him, they may go home, Mitchell. They may go home. With the way Jacksonville's defense have been playing as of late, they've been playing really well. Trevor Lawrence hasn't been playing superstar ball, but he's been playing well enough for them to win, and Doug Peterson is a winner, Mitchell. Doug Peterson, the coach, is a winner.
If there was a game I think the Jaguars could win, I think it'd be against this Chargers team. Like you said, I was high on the Chargers too coming into this year, and Justin Herbert's been solid. 7-2 since November 1st, 15 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, 69% completion percentage, 105 passer rating. But down the stretch, it was like they were just kind of grinding out these games. It was nothing pretty. And let's be honest, they're beating the Indianapolis Colts, and then they lose the last game of the season. It's not like they're overwhelming their opponents. And now it's do or die. I mean, they've been tested with injuries all year long, but this Jaguar team has been feisty. They've been playing do or die playoff football for the last 5 weeks. They're already in that mindset. So for me, I'm taking the team that's already in that mindset that they can't lose, as opposed to been the team that's just kind of been squeaking by in the Chargers. I'm with you, Rich. I like the Jags. Let's move over to the NFC. We got to talk about your two teams, 49ers hosting your Seattle Seahawks. It's a 10-point line, Rich.
Mitchell, it's going to be 25-25. It's going to be the first time in playoff history. They're going to have to figure that out. I don't know what they're going to do. It's a coin flip or something. That's going to be 25-25, Mitchell. I'm not going with any other score.
Right. So you now, as a non-former player, a non-Seahawk and 49er alum, you as just a football analyst now breaking down these two teams. Put yourself in my shoes, Rich. What would you say if you were me?
Mitchell, well, first off, my heartbreak, my team, it wasn't in it, would be too immense for me to be here. You're a better man than me, Mitchell. You're not on IR. You're standing 10 toes down, and you're showing up, Mitchell. Your Detroit Lions showed up, and could they have won another game here or there to be here? They could have, but, proud of where they are. They're going to be a menace next year. Geno! Geno Smith, Pro Bowl player, franchise record holder in a number of categories the first year he started. DK and Tyler. Tyler has had a really good season, another 1,000-yard season. Those young tackles have stood up really well, but Mitchell, Nicholas, John, Bosa, future defensive player of the year. It's going to be tough to beat him, Mitchell. It's going to be tough to deal with him. They're coming off a 10-game winning streak, but the game in Seattle was closer than a lot of people think. There was a 10-point swing right before the end of the first half. I was there. It was a TNF game where an interception by Quandre Diggs could have happened. It was right in his hands. It threw it right to him. That could have changed the complexity of that game immensely. It could have changed really fast. And not to say it will be that kind of game, but that game was closer than people think. And I think this is going to be closer than people think. I don't think it's going to be a 10-point game. I think it's going to be closer than people think. I think with Christian McCaffrey and this offensive line healthy now, defensive line healthy for San Francisco, it's a tough task expecting Seattle to walk into San Francisco and come out with a win, but I do not think it'll be a 10-point spread.
Rich, I'll say this. I think Seattle has a fighter's chance. They've got the weapons. They got Geno. Well, let's not discount his Pro Bowl season. He's been a true revelation for them. And it's broke franchise records in his first year. Who would have saw this coming? DK, Tyler Lockett, the difference maker here, Rich. The defense has been stingy. They've been playing pretty solid. The difference maker here is gonna be the Michigan State alum, Kenneth Walker III, K9. Let me get a shout out to my fellow Spartan here. Kenneth Walker III. If he's able to tote the rock at 120 yards, control the line of scrimmage, if they're able to control the time of possession, get the play action relevant in this game, take some deep shots to DK and Tyler, maybe, just maybe, the Seahawks are in this game late, and maybe, just maybe, Myers doesn't miss a field goal or doink one off the right post, and maybe, just maybe, Seattle wins this game. But
Mitchell,
there's a lot
Seattle
of maybes in that statement, Rich.
Maybe, baby. Mitchell, I don't want to be a maybe, baby. I think it's tough. Now Brock Purdy, Mitchell, in the National Football League, Brock Purdy has been a lot of things. Mystery relevant, 7th round pick, Mitchell, but he has yet to be a loser in the National Football League. Mitchell, he has not lost. If he started a game, Mitchell, he has won it. 6-0. Mitchell, 115 passer rating. I think 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, about 1,353 yards. And he's solid. And he really loves George Kittle. He loves giving him the ball, Mitchell. He's had 7 touchdowns since Brock Purdy has started. You know how you develop a friendship, Mitchell? You throw a guy 7 touchdowns who hadn't had more than 7 touchdowns in a season, Mitchell. He's feeding that man, and he's coming into his own. And then you got Brandon Ayuk, 1,000-yard season. And then it's just Elijah Mitchell coming back. Christian McCaffrey's there. Debo's there. Everybody. You got all the fixins, Mitchell. They got the fixins. And now Seattle is coming into a game where Kenneth Walker has had 3 straight 100-yard games. They're running the ball better. Play action's better. Geno is still throwing dimes. 70% passer. It's going to be tight, but Nicholas John Bosa, Mitchell, he's the difference maker. He's the disruptor. Eric Armstead. T.Y. McGill, Mitchell. This is a name you have not heard, Mitchell. You may not hear again. T.Y. McGill. He played for Seattle for a little while. He's been a journeyman. I don't know why he has never stuck, but he's a disruptor at the D-tackle spot. He's a 3-tech, and he's not the biggest, but he's quick, and he is disruptive in the run game and in the pass game, and he's made huge plays down the stretch. I think he's going to make a difference in this playoff, and I think you're going to hear his name in a critical moment, in a critical game, and you're going to say, I told you. I told you.
I'm excited to hear T.Y. McGill's name called out this Saturday. And I think the Niners are an absolute juggernaut. I think the only way they truly lose this game is if they forget the game's on Saturday and think it's on Sunday and just flat out don't show up.
Right.
Next game, though, Rich, the Minnesota Vikings, the winners of the NFC North, those that have won 11 one-possession games and own a negative plus-minus scoring differential on the season, against the New York Giants, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, a solid defense. Rich, Vikings -3 at home. Kirko, your thoughts?
Mitchell, from what I've heard, a team, if everything's even, a team gets 3 points just for being home. Team gets 3 points for being home.
Sure.
So it's an even game. And you're talking about guys who don't know any better. That's the worst. That's the worst kind of team to deal with, Mitchell. A team that doesn't know they're not supposed to be there. And the Giants are not supposed to be there, but they don't know that. And their coach doesn't know that. And Brian Daboll is tough. He's tough. He played in a tough division this year. And they had to play the Eagles last game with backups. And so they played with backups. And they played with backups, and they gave them the Eagles everything they can handle with backups. Daniel Jones didn't play. Be careful, Minnesota. Be careful, because that defense has been leaky all season. They're one of the worst in terms of yards per game. They stand up when they have to. Patrick Peterson has had a resurgence and been really good at the cornerback spot. 5 interceptions this season. He's been really good. They got playmakers. Zadarius Smith has been really good off the edge. Harrison Smith is always steady, playmaker, but they give up a lot of yards. And this is one of those games that if you let a team like the Giants stick around late in the playoff game where they start to believe they can see next round, they can see light at the end of the tunnel, they'll send you home. These one-possession games, I know you've been living by the luck of the Irish for a really long time. And living like that, they're one of the few teams to ever be seated this high with such a negative point differential. And the luck of the Irish may be ending, but, they still have Kirko.
You know what they say, when you see that light at the end of the tunnel, Rich, it might be just that freight train coming to knock your ass out. And I think you're onto something. I followed way too much of the NFC North this season. Everyone knows by now I'm a Detroiter. I love the Lions. Kumbaya. But this Minnesota Vikings team, they're fraudulent. I don't see how you can possibly think any different than that. I mean, when you have a negative scoring differential on the season and 11 one-possession games, they've been living by the luck of the Irish, like you said. This Giants team, Brian Daboll, I think he's got to be aggressive. If he coaches like he did at the very beginning of this season when they were just pulling things out left and right, I mean, they got the weapons to do it. I mean, Daniel Jones has been playing with a lot more confidence of late. I think that they are able to overcome this Vikings team. And Justin Jefferson, I will say with one caveat, Justin Jefferson is an absolute rock star stud. If Kirk Cousins and him can connect and get on path like they've been doing in the past, 10 reception game, 120, 150 yards, then night. But if they're able to control Justin Jefferson, I think the Giants have got a win on their hands here.
Now, I don't think either of these teams wins this game and then gets to the next round and deals with the San Francisco 49ers and goes, but whatever.
That's where they invented the word called Cakewalk Central for San Francisco. It's San Francisco. They're going to the NFC Championship, but that's a story for next week. Now, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You've played down in Tampa Bay. You live down in Tampa Bay, Rich. They got somebody. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's just entered the league a couple years ago. His name's Tom Brady. And I know that Tom Brady is one of those guys that hasn't had a whole lot of success in the postseason. So does he have success now, Rich, playing the Dallas Cowboys at home?
Mitchell. Thomas Edward Brady Jr.
I didn't know that.
Nobody knows him, Mitchell. Nobody knows him until you say it. Has won a lot of games in the National Football League. A lot of games, Mitchell. He's probably won more games this decade in the playoffs than the Dallas Cowboys have won in a very long time. In his career, Mitchell, rival the Dallas Cowboys as a franchise. And they're an all-time franchise, Mitchell. They've won a lot of Super Bowls. They haven't won them recently. And Mitchell, if they play the way they did against the Washington Commanders when they got beat 26-6 by Sam Howell, nothing against Sam Howell, his first start, beats the Dallas Cowboys 26-6. Now, Mitchell, they didn't rest people until late in that game, Mitchell. It wasn't like things got crazy and they were like, oh, we need to give these guys a rest, Mitchell. That wasn't what happened. This is concerning because Dallas Cowboys needed to show confidence. They need to show, continuity going into the playoffs. They need an impressive win against a division opponent, and they did not do that. So what we're going to need from Rain, Dakota, Prescott is not turn the ball over and score some points. Now, they have a weakness, a glaring weakness that Washington exploited, and it's that right corner, Mitchell. It's the left corner on the defense's left, the offense's right. Mitchell, the Carolina game, now Tom and those guys didn't play well against Atlanta. They got their butts kicked, but whatever. The Carolina game, he threw 3 touchdowns to Mike Evans, Mitchell. Guess where he threw him? Guess where he threw him, Mitchell?
Right down that right sideline, Rich.
Right down that right sideline, Mitchell, and that's where he's going to throw him this week. And if they catch fire like they did that week, they will send these boys home packing, and Dallas will have one of the toughest off seasons they've had probably in the last decade. Because when I tell you people will talk bad about them, people will talk crazy about them this whole offseason. If they lose the first round to Tom and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after everything they are supposed to be this season, Mitchell, it will be tough. They have too many good players. They have a good defense. They have good coaching. Okay. That's all I got to say.
The Cowboys are like that Instagram model once you take the makeup off, man. I mean, 95% of the time they look great, and then you catch them without the filters on and everything, and you see them against the Commanders. So, whoa, who is this? I'm with you, Rich. I could see if there was a matchup that the Buccaneers could realistically win, it's against this Dallas Cowboy team. That being said, I could also see Dallas Cowboys going to the NFC Championship game. Like, it's just like you don't know who you're going to get. If Dak can keep control of the ball, not give the ball away like he's been doing of late. They got all the weapons. They got Tony Pollard. They got CeeDee Lamb. They got the tight end that everyone wants and Dalton Schultz, fellow Cardinal. Rich, anything is possible here.
I'm trying to see where your meds are at, because you might have taken too many today. If I heard you say Dallas Cowboys can make the NFC Championship, Mitchell, whoa.
Well, I know they got to go through your 49ers.
I mean, they got to go through their Philadelphia Eagles, Mitchell.
Fair.
Let's not get crazy, Mitchell. This is the team that just lost to the Washington Commanders 26-6.
Well, I'll say this. If Tampa gets in a pinch in this game, Tom's got to go back to what he was doing against Carolina. When in doubt, bomb it out. Mike Evans is a guy that can just flip a game in one play. And Chris Godwin's healthy now. I mean, Tampa Bay has got all the weapons. They don't have a run game right now, but they got all the weapons that they need in terms of just being one play flip the game. So I like this matchup for Tampa. Richard, we're going to have an exciting postseason here. But before we, get into anything beyond this weekend, I want to just talk about your predictions now that the slate of playoffs has been set. Who do you see in the Super Bowl now?
San Francisco, and for the first time, it's changed in a really long time. San Francisco, Cincinnati.
I love it.
That's how I feel about it. We'll see what happens, Mitchell. It was fun. Another great podcast. Thank you, guys. Please join us next week after these playoff games conclude. We'll have a summary. We'll tell you what we thought. We'll tell you what we think. Appreciate you joining us. Hit that sub button if you're new. Get a clue.